Hello and welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be about an exciting Metroidvania that I was able to play early and now I'm reviewing kind of late because it took me a long time to finish, and that is Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. So Ender Magnolia is a pretty well-anticipated sequel to the Metroidvania Ender Lilies that got really great reviews from the indie community. And so I was lucky enough to get a preview code for the demo of the game back in, I believe, January, late December, and I played about 6 hours of that demo content. It had the first few zones, it had a handful of bosses, and therefore some of the first abilities that you'll get in the game, and just scratching the surface of the story. I really enjoyed what I played in those 6 hours and was actually really anticipating the full release, which wouldn't be until the end of January, which is now a few weeks past. Now, one of the cool things that happened was, thanks to my lovely partner's Minimap, I was able to get a preview for the full release a few days before the actual launch of the game. So about 48 hours before the actual release of the full game, I was able to really get in there, and I finished up. I had to restart, so I had to go through the 6 hours of content before. But I knew what I was doing now, so it did go a bit faster. And then I started to explore everything that this game had to offer. Now, most people have been putting this at, it's about 10 to 20 hours, 10 ranging if you're just kind of blasting through the story, hitting all of the main points, and not really exploring. And the 20 hours is more of, if you're going, exploring, clearing all of the zones, you're gonna go more to the 20, maybe 25 hours. Now, all of my time is like shoved into one file, and I hit about 32 hours total. So subtract those 6 hours from when I did the preview. So I feel like I have put a decent amount of time into this game, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that the story was great. I thought that the combat, movement, everything about it was really fleshed out, really just well thought out and well executed. So the first thing that really hits you is the story. So while reading up about the game to make sure that I really understood it after playing it, this does seem to be a continuation of the Ender Lilies story, and I will admit I did not play Ender Lilies, so I am coming at this from a perspective of, I've solely just played the second game. So if you've played Ender the Lilies, you might get more Easter eggs or more thorough knowledge about the game. But the world is really, really dark and gloomy. There's a lot of deep blues and purples, grayscale colors used throughout the world to give it this kind of depressing atmosphere, which is pretty fitting for the environment that you're in. You are outside of the inner city kingdom of this area, and you are basically in the equivalent of the slums. You're basically in the lower zones, to where it is now dubbed the land of the fumes, because there is chemical fumes erupting from the ground and corrupting these homunculi that have been forced out into this area. Now, these fumes make these homunculi who were peaceful and just living about their lives go crazy and become violent. Now, some of these homunculi you will just fight as enemies, but there are certain ones, like mini-bosses and bosses, that you can actually tune. Now, for some context, you are playing Lilac. She is an attuner, and she basically wakes up with no memory. Now, she quickly finds Nola, who is a homunculi who also is having some memory issues, and they decide, once she basically just naturally decides to attune to her, that they will work together and figure out what is happening and try and get their memories back. And Lilac is just basically this little girl. She doesn't really have the means to defend herself or really get around. So in order to properly explore this Metroidvania, you will use the abilities given to you by the homunculi that you tune. Now, Nola's the first one, and she is basically your basic attack. She wields a scythe and does damage to any enemies that want to come at you. Now, gathering all of the abilities that you'll have a small team of homunculi that will help you explore this world as you try and follow the plot line and figure out how to get to the inner city. there's many questions that you will not have answers for a while. Basically, the main objective is to clear out the zones in the area that you're in and try and find keys to get to new advanced areas as you try and uncover the secrets of why are there so many homunculi down here? Why are these fumes corrupting them? What is happening? Something seems to be going on, and it seems very malicious. Overall, the atmosphere is very gloomy, very dark, very depressing. But when you talk to the people there, that is when you get your spark of light and hope. And I do very much emphasize you should be reading the dialogue, not only to get the really amazing story along with the game, but the characters will also help kind of nudge you in the direction that you're supposed to go to actually progress said game and story, or else you might end up stuck for a while somewhere and needing to Google where you need to go. That's totally not from experience. Now, for these kind of games, smooth combat and movement are very crucial for at least me to be able to enjoy the game, and I assume that is many people. Now, 𝕨𝕨𝕟 seems to be very responsive. I played this all on controller through Steam, and I really wasn't getting irritated or anything, feeling like the inputs just weren't working, and I was very pleased with how it felt to move both 𝕨𝕨𝕟 and also control the homunculi abilities that I had. Now, the cool thing about the abilities, so you will get them either by beating a mini-boss or a boss, and the abilities come in two different types. One being, I call them traversal abilities. They'll be stuff like, hey, you can swim, you can adhere to walls, you can break through stuff. Really basic stuff that will allow you to do the traditional Metroidvania stuff of clear a zone here, get locked out here, fight something here, get an ability that you can now use to go further in this zone up here. And yeah, these traversal abilities are basically where that part comes in. They also feel very intuitive whenever you get them. For a lot of Metroidvanias that I've tried in the past, I would get very stuck and confused about when to go back where, and just really kind of dumb on my part. But this was very intuitive, just to say the least. I felt very confident in going, oh, I now can go back to this one zone that I was really stuck at and I couldn't figure out. This is what I needed. And the other kind of ability are combat abilities. So you will get to attune up to 4 different combat abilities. They can be anything from 𝕨𝕠𝕣 with her axe scythe thing to you will have multiple homunculi that have some kind of projectiles. And these abilities can become either more defensive or more offensive, and it really allows you to kind of spice things up and figure out what works for you. And even more on figuring out what works for you is you can actually customize how the layout is. So like I said, I use control, so it was all the face buttons and the triggers and bumpers. And I got to decide what ability goes on which button/bumper trigger. And I got to play around and figure out what felt right for me and what was going to make me screw up the least. So I really enjoyed it. It was something really small, but I really liked it. And even more, if you just aren't still feeling your setup, but you like the basics of how you have stuff set up, each ability from all the homunculi have 3 different forms total. And you upgrade these or unlock them through just progressing the game. If you go through, there will be on your map purple dots that are marking items. I suggest you go through and collect as many items as you can, because these are, I believe, for the most part, where I got all, if not just most, of the material to upgrade or unlock all of these different homunculi abilities. Now, it can be anything from just the initial 3 are different forms. So 𝕨𝕠𝕣 has a basic scythe attack to where she swings it a few times. She can get one to where she gets a really almost great sword type deal, and she swings a bit slower but with more power, and just they transform the abilities. And then once you have them unlocked, you can actually upgrade their, what I've dubbed little star level, star power. And that is when you actually upgrade the abilities with these materials. You actually upgrade their star power. And that's when you get more power behind the attack and stuff like speed, cooldown reduction, all of that fun stuff. And if you want even more stuff for your combat, there are 2 more sections in your table of all of your information, and that is relics and jewelry. I forget what the name of this thing is, but you'll see it on screen, and that is an area in your system to where you will have different rings that give you just little buffs. I began using some of these a lot more frequently when I unlocked them in the later half or so of the game. I still don't think that these do a whole lot in terms of are you going to survive a fight or not, but they're nice to have nonetheless. And the real deal is relics, and I still don't fully know how to unlock more relic slots. I wish I did, but you will slowly progress through the game and unlock more slots for relics, and each relic takes up a certain number of slots, anywhere from 1 to like 9. And the more slots they take up, of course, the better the utility is for them. Now, these relics have a plethora of different uses. Some are they gain more attack power if you're attacking in the sky or in the water. Some will allow a bar that you will gain later on to just make a giant, like, ultimate attack power. It'll make that bar go up faster. And just a plethora of different things that I feel like are way more valuable to have, and I spent a little bit more time looking through the relics than anything else in the game. And also at some point you will be able to upgrade them. So this is where a lot of big brain stuff for different setups come from. I spent a lot of time, depending on the area I was in, swapping off relics and trying to just use the most resources that I could with the amount of relic slots I had. I think that these were very well implemented, and I really actually enjoyed using them. I just wish I could figure out how I was actually unlocking them. Now, this is a game that allows you to change your difficulty settings even in the middle of your play. Now, I always just start games on normal difficulty, no matter what they are. That's just kind of how I've always been. And this game, for the most part, I think I made it about halfway through. I probably hit the 20-hour mark in this file, and I kind of hit a wall. One of the bosses where he's giving me a lot of trouble, and I decided that this was the perfect time to test out how good the difficulty features were at adapting to players and what they could actually give them. And so when setting it up, I just decided right now in how I want to play this. At first, I wanted the challenge of fighting, and at that point, 20 hours in, I wanted to focus less on fighting the really hard bosses and instead focus on the story and I don't want to say get through the game, but I wanted to get through the game in order to see what was happening. I wanted to progress the story the quickest way, basically. So I turned everything down to the lowest difficulty, and that meant the stun on enemies was better, it was longer, and their, I believe, health bar was smaller. Basically, it made the enemies a lot more fragile. The main thing that I noticed when fighting, and I can only use this for this one gauntlet area that I won't go into any more detail with aside from it was like a gauntlet, it was a lot easier to defeat them. They got stunned for a lot longer than they were on normal difficulty, and I want to say that they were more docile and that it took them longer to attack me, but that also could just be the runs that I was going with, because I did notice throughout the game there were some runs when I was fighting bosses, I would have to go through them more than a few times because I'm not that good. there were some runs that they were a lot more docile and some runs where they were a lot more aggressive and offensive. Yeah, I did actually really like that. That was really cool, except when I went in really confident and just got like comboed and died. But I really liked that it was different each time and you couldn't just go in already anticipating how they were going to fight, but you could already know their moveset. I thought that added a nice like twist and some spice to it. But I did feel like it made the game easier, but I didn't feel like it was on a baby mode or anything. I did really enjoy it. So if you are someone who wants to enjoy a story, or even decide, kind of like me, you're kind of done with fighting the combat part of it and you just want to really get through the story, I do suggest changing it to lowering the difficulty. They still fight you, it still feels really good. But yeah, it could be really helpful, especially if you've hit a roadblock like me and that stupid gauntlet. The question of the week is going to be, how do you decide how to fight gauntlet battles? And especially if you've played Ender Magnolia, how long did it take you to fight that gauntlet battle? You'll know when you get to it. It's a freaking battle tower. Like, you'll know what I'm talking about. Ooh. Actually, what if we change it to what is your favorite battle tower / gauntlet in a video game? I feel like that's better. Let's do that one. But overall, the story was really good. I really enjoyed it. And it actually makes me want to go back and play Ender Lilies. Because that was a game that I always thought was really gorgeous looking when I would see it in people's lists of like games you should play, indie games that are worth playing, all of that stuff. I always thought that they looked really pretty and that the combat looked really nice. I just didn't play Metroidvanias back then because I kind of suck at them. But apparently 2024, 2025 is when I take on Metroidvanias for some reason, because last year I played Crypt Custodian and I really liked it, and now I really liked Ender Magnolia. So I guess I'm opening myself up to Metroidvanias. I really need to go back and play Hollow Knight. And the second Ori game. I played the first Ori game. I didn't review it on this channel, I probably should. But yeah, that one was good. So I'm opening myself up to new genres. Yay. Overall, I think this game was great. I loved it. I don't think I would recommend this game to be anyone's first Metroidvania. I still would reserve that for maybe a game more like Crypt Custodian, or I would even say Ori. But I would definitely say if you have a few Metroidvanias under your belt, or maybe you just really like a challenge, I would definitely say give this game a chance. I haven't played Ender Lilies, so I don't know if I should say play Ender Lilies first or play this one. This does feel like you can fully get the story and everything by just playing this one, but I really do feel like there's probably Easter eggs and like there's a moment towards the end that I really feel like would have hit a lot harder if I had played Ender Lilies. So a part of me does, uneducatedly, mind you, suggest play Ender Lilies and then go into Ender Magnolia. But I thought it was great. I don't typically give scores. Most of the time at the end I just say the group of people that I think would really enjoy this game. But I would give this like a 4.5 out of 5 if I had to actually give a score, because a lot of my friends are now like giving scores to stuff. So yeah, a solid 4.5. I think it was great. The only part that really messed me up and is keeping it from a 5 is the like quest directions is the best way I can describe it. When opening your map, one of the great things about this game is it will give you an indicator about where you should be going, what your objective kind of is. And after I got through what I did for the demo version, it kept giving me like an explore this area. And the thing is, there's a section in the game that is literally called that area, and I had already cleared it, so I was very, very confused when I couldn't figure out what I needed to do. And so I just decided to go further out into the different regions of this area, and lo and behold, that was actually what I was supposed to be doing. So I was really stuck. That probably had me waste about 2 hours of my time trying to go through all of that area to find some secret compartment or secret zone or any little secret that I could find to help progress the game, when in actuality I needed to be somewhere completely different. And that did happen a small handful of times, so really my best suggestion for anyone that wants to jump into this game is just explore as far as you can in all directions, and eventually you will find a boss that will help you unlock other areas, or you will get someone to tell you where you should be going. And this also ties back into why you should actually pay attention to what the other characters are telling you, because this happened to a lesser extent later on too. When you get in to different areas, you will have more people talking to you and trying to help give you direction on what you should be doing. Definitely pay attention to the story, or else you will get very lost. I would have gotten very, very lost if I hadn't been reading in, I don't want to say the zone, so I won't, but pay attention to the story. The story's great either way, so I do highly recommend just pay attention to it. And the combat, the movement, it feels great. I highly recommend this for anyone who wants a Metroidvania with a great story. And that's really all I have to say about this game. I want to give one last thank you to Minimap, who allowed me to play this game a little bit early, but no matter how much I grinded it out, I could only play it so fast. And then I wanted to redo how I structure stuff here, and so that's why this video is coming out so late. But thank you, Minimap, and thank you for anyone who watched. I hope you got something out of this video, and let me know if watching me ramble about this game that I really enjoyed makes you want to buy it, or if anything, just wishlist it on Steam. That really does help these people. A lot of games that I review on this channel are indie games, and so every wishlist can really help them. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope to see you again in another video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. This helps my videos stay on your For You page for you. And if you want to go the extra mile, give me a subscribe so you don't lose me in the sea of YouTube content. That is all for me for today. I hope to see you in a future video. Bye!